Call to order this November 10th meeting of the Education and Outreach Training Committee. Mr. Clerk.
First on the agenda is call of the roll. Member Pilpil.
Present.
Pilpil present. Member David. David did inform me that he did sustain an injury and is unable to attend today. Member Winston did inform me that he's ill and he's unable to attend today. Member Wolf.
Here, or present.
Wolf present. Chair Hyland.
Present.
Hyland present. We have a quorum. I do not have any requests for agenda changes at this time.
Okay.
Item number 2, adoption of the January 13th, 2014, February 10th, 2014, April 14th, 2014, May 12th, 2014, July 14th, 2014, and September 8th, 2014, Education, Outreach, and Training Committee meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair?
Member Pilpil.
I'm just about done making some minor typographical edits, but I would so move to adopt the set of referenced minutes.
So moved. Can we take that without objection?
Oh, I was moving.
So I would second.
Okay, good. Public comment?
Is there any public comment on the minutes? I do not see any public comment.
Okay.
So that motion to approve the minutes as amended are approved without objection. File number.
Thank you.
Item number 3. File number 11068, hearing on the status of order of determination, complaint filed by Anonymous against the Planning Department for violating Administrative Code Section 67.21A for failure to provide copies of all Park Merced project documents. The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force referred the matter to the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee for review of the department's policy and procedure for processing public records requests. I believe both parties are present today.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
To Victor. Can you just remind me, since this complaint goes back to 2011, what was, and I don't have the
I did provide
chart here, what is the last history action on this prior to today's hearing?
One moment.
Thanks.
I believe the last action was by the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force to refer the item back to the EOTC to discuss procedures to accommodate the public records request. Do you want me to go back further in that history line?
When was that?
That was on February 6, 2013.
Yeah, go back one more for me, if you would mind.
On January 15, 2013, the Compliance and Amendments Committee referred the matter to the task force with recommendations to send it to the Ethics Commission. I do believe that the Compliance and Amendments Committee was not satisfied that all documents were presented. Prior to that, the task force ordered the Planning Department to release all documents related to the Park Merced project. I did write an additional note that at the Compliance and Amendments Committee, the Planning Department did state that they had provided all requested documents. However, maybe I should let the parties speak for themselves on this matter. I do not believe that the complainant believed that all documents were submitted.
And what you're reading from, is that in our package?
Yes, it is. It's on page 30 of the packet.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That is my personal review of listening to the audio tapes.
Okay. Very good. Yep. Okay.
Why don't we hear from the parties?
Yeah. So, complainant, if you'd like to approach.
Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. The information that I requested from the Planning Department, there was quite a bit of correspondence between us, back and forth, back and forth. And I do not believe I have all of the information that pertains to the Park Merced project. Having said that, this case actually did begin. I had asked for the documentation under Sunshine. The Planning Department was kind enough, unbeknownst that I didn't know they would do it. They actually delivered a box. It was pretty heavy. My son had to lift it all the way to my apartment. And in that box, it contained the general basic stuff, such as the vision plan, the information about transportation, infrastructure. But the development agreement was incomplete. And there were some documents missing from the development agreement. And also, there are documents that I think that are missing. For example, Elizabeth Waddy, I was told, was assigned the documents that pertain to Park Merced itself. So she's one, she was found in violation of the Sunshine Ordinance under 11068. So I had also corresponded with her previously. I did not receive, it was very interesting that they went through the expense to have someone to deliver all of that information to my home at my front door, but there was no 14 pages of revisions, which I would need to see how the development agreement had changed. Otherwise, I didn't know what was new and what was old. And so from that, there really began a back and forth correspondence between us, and they never did give me the 14 pages of revisions. But also, as I said, for example, I've gone to the library, I've seen different things in the library about Park Merced, and I could only imagine that if there are pictures and photographs of this apartment complex, but it was such a big deal when it was originally built in San Francisco, that they would have something else other than the architectural documents and so on and so forth. I didn't receive, for example, minutes, the minutes from previous meeting about this project. I didn't receive public comments from those meetings. And the reason why I was requesting all of these documents, because it was not disclosed to me that they were going to demolish a townhome that I was residing in at the time. So as this project was moving forward towards the board for approval, there were all kinds of rumors, and I didn't know what was true and what wasn't. And the only way I could ascertain what was true and what was a false rumor was to actually have all of the documents so that I could see it for myself. And they decided they did not give me the documents. It's probably stated. The numerous correspondence, even when the meeting came up in January of 2012, the 14 pages of revisions were not on the website. So I had documents, but I didn't see how the documents connected, and I didn't understand why there was no chronological order and a cover sheet to actually say this is what the project consists of. So I never had that, and I think that what has happened, I suspect people have been told to give what she's asked for. So if she doesn't ask for a certain document, we didn't withhold it because she didn't ask for it. And I think this is really ridiculous that this occurred, because under Sunshine, I was entitled to the documents in the first place. But in my opinion, I have never received all of the documents, and they have never given them to me.
You mentioned 4 categories, and we'll get back to asking you more about that later, but is there anything else you want to add to that? Any other documents that you feel are still outstanding?
I think that there's communications with multiple parties revolving those 14 pages of revisions that exist, and I didn't receive that at all.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add? We'll come back with more questions later. You'll have a chance to close.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is anybody here in support of the complainant? Seeing nobody, would the respondent please approach?
Mr. Ionin for the Planning Department.
Welcome.
Thank you. This predates my time as the custodian of public records for the Planning Department. As far as I can tell, the order required that we respond. As far as I know, the Planning Department has fully responded to this request from 2012, and we continue to respond to requests regarding the Park Merced documents to this day.
And when did you start? When did you come on board?
I started in this capacity November 1st of last year, so of 2013.
Okay. You have up to 5 minutes to, address anything else. We'll come back to you with questions.
I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Is there anybody in support of the respondent? Seeing none, this matter is before the task force. And I'm looking for a little bit more background. Perhaps Member Pilpel, you can kind of summarize for both of us here, and we can get to where we are. And also, I'm just curious, Victor, if we can, is there any action from the compliance and amendment? Yeah, I think you read it, but was there any more detail than that in the package? And if so, what page is that on?
I do not believe there is any in today's packet.
Okay. So basically, they felt that not all the materials have been provided, and they referred it to this committee.
They referred it back to the task force,
Okay.
and the task force had discussions, and the task force actually sent it back to the education outreach for policy discussion.
Got it. Okay. Member Pilpel?
Yeah, so this actually goes back like 3.5 years. The complainant and, frankly, others in Park Merced were concerned about the Park Merced proposed redevelopment. There was a lot of controversy about the development agreement when it went to the Board of Supervisors. There was famous 14 pages of amendments. There were a couple of complaints filed about that. The task force heard those complaints, found a violation. This was actually related to the requester's earlier request for documents, actually not a single request, but over a period of time, for documents from the Planning Department related to the development, not specifically the changes at the Board of Supervisors. And if you look in the order of determination, that actually provides a pretty good rundown of some of that history, page 26 to 28. I have a couple of questions for Mr. Ionin, and then possibly for Ms. Gavin. Jones, where are you?
Yes, Commissioner.
Member.
Or member.
Yeah. So let's start with your response from Friday. I appreciate the little chart that you did with the procedure. I assume that stuff in the middle from the procedure comes from a larger document of the department's policies and procedures for handling public records requests. Is that correct?
No, this is how we currently conduct our responses to record requests.
Is that memorialized in a document somewhere other than this? I mean, just a general procedure for how
No, not currently. We're currently working on, as you
working to
know,
get there.
the
Okay.
record retention policy of updating it because it's out of date. We're currently updating the matrices associated as the appendix for the record retention policy. I am pleased to inform you that the procedures that the planning department undertakes now under my direction has vastly improved over previous years, and it will continue to improve, specifically with the inclusion of a record request as a file for our new PPTS program that's in collaboration with the Department of Building Inspection. That will be made available to the public as well. So we'll be better able to track large and complicated record requests.
And small and insignificant ones as well. Everything.
Well, we don't consider any record request insignificant.
Good answer. I like that. Okay, so I guess one of the things this committee is looking for is for this center section on procedures to be memorialized in a separate document. That was actually the main reason for this hearing, is that we wanted to know not just what you said, but that there actually are written procedures. And I recall that there was a form that your department had. We're looking for that to be submitted to the committee so we can say, yes, in fact, the planning department has written procedures, has a form, has people, it's all in place.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
To be quite honest with you, this example response was related to a more recent Park
and I was
Merced
gonna-
request.
I was gonna get to
to be, I didn't dawn on me until, to be entirely honest with you, just a few hours ago, that this was related to a complaint from 2011 or 2012.
That's fine. So I think if you can take back that request to sort of memorialize those procedures, we're looking for that when that's available.
I mean, to be honest with
Yeah.
Member Pilpel, is that because it's such a dynamic time right now for our record request procedures? I mean, they're
No.
literally changing almost daily because of the inclusion into the permit tracking system with
No,
coordination with DBI.
I mean, ultimately, I think we're looking for maybe three things. One is a form, if you have a form, and I think you do, and you're probably updating that.
We do, but it's not required for anyone to fill out.
I understand, but even if you have that as a sample, it helps to see what information you're looking for, it's just helpful to see, even if it's optional.
Sure, it's available on our website.
Cool. The public procedures for, how requests are submitted and sort of the public expectations for how they're going to be processed, and then ultimately whatever internal procedures you have. And I like the email that you send out to the team. Here's what we're looking for. Please dump it in a folder. We got it. Right. All of that, both external and internal procedures. And it's not specific to planning. We're going to ask the police department about that. We've been on the Arts Commission and others. We're, I think, as a task force, looking for those departments, unfortunately those that we get complaints about, but ultimately all city departments should have written procedures and policies. They should be similar to the extent that that makes sense, different to the extent that that makes sense, but known on the website, all of that. We're all getting there. We know that you're working on that too, and I think we want to support that and perhaps share amongst departments so people that don't have any of this stuff developed don't have to reinvent the wheel. And you already have a lot of good work behind you.
Understood.
So I think that's all good. Let me then ask about this response column. What was this April 1, April 2, April 3, 2014? Was this not related to this particular request?
No, it was
but
not
something
related
else?
to this one. It was related to a request that we received on April 1st of this year.
Okay, but it is a good example of how things now get handled.
That's right.
Okay, and I think that was good and timely. Can you speak to the history of this particular complaint back to 2011, and in particular the order of determination on page 3, page 28 of the packet, and whether or not you believe or the department believes that all records related to the Park Merced project have been provided to Ms. Gavin?
All records, as far as we know, have been provided to her on numerous occasions. The boxes have been left out and have made available for her to review.
And significant fees have been waived and all kinds of things have occurred.
As far as I know, she hasn't, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe you've paid any fees. right? So.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted that noted.
Right.
I'll follow up with.
Yeah, I was going to ask specifically the 4 or 5 different categories she listed. My first question was, given that it's now 2014, are a lot of these documents not public documents on your website or available? For instance, the development agreement, the 14-page.
I believe the development agreement is actually available on our website.
Okay. And what about the 14 pages of revisions?
The revisions themselves, going line by line as with the changes are more than likely not on our website.
Okay. And
But they are in the Board of Supervisors file, and they were the subject of a separate complaint.
right. Okay. So that's something that you would not have provided because that's something you didn't have, or you do
As far as I know, it was contained as part of the file.
part of
in
that
there.
package. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Because we just heard from the complainant that she.
If she hasn't received it, we can do our best to dig it up and provide it to her.
Okay. Good answer. Okay. I have some questions for the complainant. If you'd like to approach.
So do I.
Okay. And given the sensitive nature of past cases, how would you like us to address you?
You can call me Miss Gavin.
Ms. Gavin? Okay, Ms. Gavin. So I'm hearing from Mr. Ionin that they're open to trying to dig up what you are still missing. So perhaps if we can, again, just itemize what it is that you feel you have not received in that package they've dropped off to you and all email communications. I think that would be a good starting point to at least get this part of the complaint squared away.
I appreciate what Mr. Ionin has said, and I do realize that he is not familiar with this case, and he was not the one that I was communicating with. But I'm very concerned how it's taken a couple of years now, and the project was approved. It should be public. It should be in the public domain if it's requested, and I'm very concerned in the sense that on their website they have the name of 3 people. And I don't know who Josh is, but 2 of the 3 people who are on the website were found in violation in case 11068. That would be Mr. Richard Cooper, I believe his name is, and Elizabeth Waddy, and their name is next to the word contact. So having done that and having written Mr. Cooper and having written Miss Waddy more than once, and I think it's like 6 people altogether, and for me not to have received 14 pages and other documents that I think that are not missing. It's really a glaring mark for, I think, the planning department, because the executive director has to uphold the Sunshine Ordinance. I mean, he's the leader of and I wrote him too. So and I'm happy to hear they are making some improvement with regards to public requests, but it still comes down to that I'm adversely impacted because my 14th Amendment right is violated. The due process, as I was advocating to try to save my home, I didn't have all the documents, didn't know how to argue, didn't know what to argue. And I'm very, very concerned about that, and it has adversely impacted my family and myself and the community in itself, because there was only one letter that went out to the resident of Park Merced regarding the development project. And that letter only came about because of Ted Gillickson and tenant advocates who said that they refused to leave the planning department if they didn't notify the people that what this redevelopment project was going on. So everyone in the townhouses that are slated to be demolished, which is all of them, were sent a letter for the land use committee meeting, which is ironic because that's the violation in my case 11048. So we didn't get the documents there either. So we get this after living there for over a year. I finally get a letter from planning about the project. And the meeting that we go to, we don't get any information. And just going forward, as the previous two cases, this is what has happened, and this is why we are here today. I think that, once again, if I had all of the information, if I had a chronology of what the documents were, they would have been able to check off, this is what it was and this is what we gave her. And that has never happened, and I just think they've deliberately withheld some documents, not to say any disparaging thing about Mr. Ione, but I just think for whatever reason, some documents have been withheld from me.
No. Okay. Member Pilpel? Thank you.
I want to give this the time that it needs, but I also know that we've got a bunch of other stuff today, and I would like to put this particular file to bed at some point because it's been 3.5 years. So specifically, Ms. Gavin, are there documents that you still believe exist that haven't been provided, or you don't know because you haven't gotten the recap? It sounded from your last comment that you would like planning to do some kind of summary or index of what you requested, what was provided, when it was provided, and then if there's anything further that you would try to fill that in, and we can go from there. But we need to be very specific about how to move on this.
I do not think that I've received all of the documents, number one. And number two, I think that they should be able to produce a summary of what it was that they say that they gave me.
Okay.
So they haven't given you that?
No.
Okay.
Well, she didn't ask for that. So, Mr. Ionen, let's follow up on that. The original requests of June 2nd and June 23rd, 2011, we don't have those in our packet today. They do exist in task force files. Is there a way that your department could recap what those requests were and what was provided and when? Maybe you already have that. Maybe we just were handed it.
Member Pilpel, I do not have the specific list of documents that were requested. From my understanding, the request is for all documents associated with Park Merced.
But however, that existed at that time.
Well,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah, okay.
But I would like to put on the screen, this is a page from our website. This is the Planning Department website under Plans and Programs. We actually have a specific section for development agreements.
Right there, right, and it's live. You're not showing it live, but it is on the website.
This is live. This is off of my personal device.
Rock and roll.
That I went to the website. Technology today is pretty amazing. For the Park Merced project.
Okay.
On that website, it contains the plan documents, the Planning Commission documents, packets, and presentations. It includes the Board of Supervisors documents. It includes specifically the development agreement as recorded. It includes the development agreement updated as of June 3rd, 2011. It includes a copy of the development agreement that was redlined.
And there are the 14
May
pages of
20th
amendments.
through 2011 through June 3rd, 2011.
Yep.
It also includes the development agreement down here that was updated and redlined again for whatever reason because it's under the development agreement. As far as I know, this is going to be the most up-to-date information available to the complainant, and it's available on the web.
Okay. So I think I'd like to hear from Member Wolf. I would just suggest that we've got at least two. We can go on the instant request. One is to ask planning to review the 2011 documents and try to develop a document that memorializes what was already transmitted to Ms. Gavin, and the other option is to ask Ms. Gavin to review the website and the documents there and see if that's fully responsive to her request. But there may be other approaches.
If I may interject, I just also downloaded the redline version, and it is redlined for what was changed between the two dates.
Thank you.
So
Member Wolf, go ahead.
just a quick question. When you do prepare requests that have a significant amount of documents associated with them, do you prepare an index either internally that I guess they're technically not requesting that index, but as you're putting this packet together, is there an index of what documents you're providing the requester, or is it just sort of a stack of documents one after the other?
Yeah.
No, we do not provide an index. As far as I know, the Public Records Act doesn't require us to provide documents that don't already exist. We provide them with the paper copies of what we have and printed out correspondences for them and provide that to them for their review. If they review it and then let us know what sections they would like copied, we advise them of the fee, and there's a copy machine available to them as well.
No, I realize there's no obligation whatsoever to prepare an index. I'm asking if during the course of reaching with your staff to look at documents, an index is created.
No.
Great, thank you.
Actually, under 6729 of the charter, I believe there is a requirement to have indexed records, is there not?
An index of records that is made available to the public. However, indexing individual record requests, I mean, that is an extremely time-extensive process. I mean, just even collecting them takes a lot of staff time.
But given the size and scope of this Park Merced project, was there not any type of index or list of contents or something?
Other than what is on our website no, not in every docket.
Okay.
Okay, so
Member Philpott?
all of that's true. The index of records only requires discussion of document types and their retention period. We're not really focused on 67.29 right this moment, but I'm showing Chair Hyland, for example, out of the file, there was a July 7th, 2011 letter from Ms. Gavin to Elizabeth Waddy, in this case, asking for a bulleted list of specific items within categories. I would suggest that many of these items now are on the website, as we just heard, but I would also suggest that planning could probably go back and reissue and say, okay, for this particular item, the draft development agreement redlined May 13th versus March 4th, that is on the website, and was provided to you on X date. So it's an exercise. It would take time, but I think we could request that planning go through that. As I say, I really would like to ensure that that we get through this, but also that Ms. Gavin gets the documents that she asked for, and that we've got some understanding that it happened and when. And right now,
Let me just keep going through the list that Ms. Gavin first provided us. So I'm happy with the development agreement and the 14 pages of revisions. I see that on your site, and I think upon examination, hopefully you'll agree, Ms. Gavin. She also did ask about the minutes and the public comment regarding those 14-page revisions.
All of the minutes from the Planning Commission are posted also on our website chronologically. They go back a certain ways. If you want, I can pull those up on my website to demonstrate that to you. Yeah. And then the audio is also available by request, and SF.gov TV has been filming us since, I believe, 2008 or 2009. Okay. So the actual video of the public hearing is also available. We don't actually transcribe every single public commenter in our minutes.
Okay. But if there's 150-word summaries, those make it into the minutes, I assume?
150-word summaries of
public comment?
No.
Well, they probably do.
They probably do, but I don't think people normally do that at the Planning Commission. If they did, Planning Department would. I think.
Do you mean someone submitting a written document of their
Yes.
People generally don't do that. They're provided 3 minutes to provide their public comment. They do that orally.
And the minutes from the Board of Supervisors Land Use Committee that dealt with the 14 pages of amendments are on the Board of Supervisors website.
Okay. And Ms. Gavin, the 14-page revision, what was the date of that? Was it around June 3rd? Is that what you're referring to?
14 pages of phantom 14 pages, as we call them,
Yes.
of revisions.
Correct.
That was, they came about on May 24th, 2011 at the Land Use Committee meeting.
Okay. And have you seen any evidence of this, of public comment or anything about those revisions?
One of the things that concerned me in regarding to not receiving all of the documents, there was correspondence from Assemblyman Tom Amiano. and that was not with the documents that I received. And I think that if that wasn't there, because well, I don't know for what reason they would not be there, to only say that, for the record, he criticized the program. So his letter to the Planning Commission that I got a copy of from a neighbor wasn't there, and then also it was an incomplete memo regarding $50,000 for former supervisor Corman Chu's district. All of that wasn't there, and it just, I began to become very suspicious, like, well, what documents really are here? And I appreciate them delivering the box to my former residents, even though I didn't know they would do that. But at the same time, for them to have gone through all of that trouble, and it was very gracious of them, and I appreciate it, but there was no index to tell me what I actually had. And as I said, as I began to go through the documents, the first thing I needed to see were the 14 pages, and they were not there. And it just makes me suspicious about what other things are not there, and things come out in piecemeal. As I said, this was a frantic time for people because their homes were questioned with demolition, and we really didn't have something solid that we could really say because we had no proof of anything, really.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Member Pilpel?
Yeah, I mean, I understand you. I think I understand your concerns and skepticism. I tend not to think that the Planning Department or the Board of Supervisors is burying or hiding anything. However, I think it's clear that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of pages related to this project, and some may be in a case file, some may be in communications to the commission, some may be in the Board of Supervisors files. There are kind of a lot of different places where there may be stuff related to Park Merced. So I'm just trying to think through, and I'd be interested in hearing from Mr. Ionin as well, how we can sort of get you whatever else exists that you don't have that you want. And I think people are interested in spending a reasonable amount of time on that.
If I may interject, as I said, it was very interesting that Park Merced itself did not have these documents where the residents could just go, because they have a couple of rooms in their one of their offices where the residents could just go and look at these documents if they had any questions. And also, as I said, it makes me suspicious if Assemblyman Amiano's letter's not there, that was written to the Planning Commission. So, and thirdly, I lost my thought for a moment, was Elizabeth Waddy. Elizabeth Waddy was in charge, that's why her name is there on the website. She was in charge of all of the documents that pertain to Park Merced. Now, I was told that when I first called the planning department, and if anybody could index anything, it would be her. That was her right. That was her responsibility. She was the one responsible for the Park Merced documents, all of them.
Well, I think that's true, except for the environmental documents where Rick Cooper was the contact. The suggestion that Mr. Ionin made to review the planning department site, and I think we're looking at it now. Maybe Mr. Ionin, if you could walk us over on that. These are the Planning Commission minutes from various years. Can you also go into plans and programs and show us where one can find the Park Merced documents?
So this site can be accessed from going to the public hearing site for the Planning Commission and then to the minutes. This is under the plans and programs. You can go to the development agreement. And under the development agreement, there's a link to all of the Park Merced documents.
So, great, and that's what you showed us earlier.
Ms. Gavin, it's on the screen. That's what he's accessing, yeah.
You could scroll down to the very end.
Sure.
So again, these are the plan documents. These are the Planning Commission documents with the motions and whatnot. And I think what she's asking for is the development agreement, which is here. This is the development agreement as it was finalized and recorded. This
And
is the
various
one-
versions along the
and
way.
the versions that
Okay.
are available online as well that are redlined.
So perhaps, Ms. Gavin, if you could...
But I mean, just to put this to bed, I mean, Ms. Gavin, I mean, if you want to provide me with a list of the documents that you feel haven't been included in the files we provided for you, I will do my best to find them and provide them to you. But it seems like, from what I'm hearing, most of the things that you're looking for are actually available on our website.
Okay, thank you. So Ms. Gavin, if you could actually take Mr. Ionin up on that offer and review, not right now, but after this meeting, review all of these documents on the website, and if there's anything else that you're looking for, send Mr. Ionin a note, maybe copy us, and he said he will see to it that you can get that information. And here you have, as the contacts for environmental review, Mr. Cooper, general questions, Josh Switzky, and your friend Ms. Waddy.
Elizabeth Waddy, who was in charge of all the documents, and she is the one who should be here today as opposed to Mr. Ionin, because I was told she was in charge of the Park Merced documents. They were all with her. And I would think that she would have had, they would have indexed something when they delivered the box to my apartment, and she would be one of the few people who would really know about all of the documents.
Could we include that in the request to Mr. Ionin, that perhaps you
Confer with?
confer with Ms. Waddy and obtain a record if it exists, an index if it exists? We're not asking you to recreate one because that's a lot of work, but there must be some record of outgoing materials that she and others have supplied to Ms. Gavin over the years. That along with maybe several itemized outstanding pieces, I think would probably resolve this.
I will certainly confer with Ms. Waddy as to any kind of an index provided to Ms. Gavin, but I do know there were multiple requests for multiple documents on multiple occasions that were responded to.
Right.
And I appreciate your request, Member Highland, and I'll be happy to confer with Ms. Waddy on the matter. But I think to put this to rest, it'd be simpler if we could just, I will be doing that, but to just get a short list from Ms. Gavin of what she feels is missing, and if we have those documents, I'd be happy to prepare them for her.
Okay. Okay. And then,
I mean, we might also make a copy of the file available to Mr. Ionin so he can be brought up to speed, because there's a lot of history in here from 2011.
okay. So what I'm hearing, members, and we'll go to rebuttals here in a second, is these two pieces that we just talked about, as well as continue to hear from Mr. Ionin directly about policies and procedures that you're crystallizing and putting into place for Sunshine in general. So I think
Here, actually, I just found a letter from planning dated July 13th, signed by Lulu, with a list of documents that were requested and the number, either the page it started or the number of pages of the document. It's a pretty detailed list.
I think the pages are pages supply each.
Yeah. And that was 43 separate documents.
For 3,470 pages. So there does appear to be a piece of an index here. Maybe not everything, but certainly a start. And maybe we can provide this to Mr. Ionin and maybe cobble several of these together to kind of give you an index of everything they provided to you. So out of that, if you see anything that's glaring, you can continue to request that from Mr. Ionin. That sound reasonable? Okay, great.
And maybe next time we'll hear also from planning on the policies and procedures in the form. So, let's hear from
Mr. Clerk, do we need to do rebuttals for all that format, or can we,
There is no official format. This is
Okay,
an update on existing file.
That's what I thought. So if you can memorialize what we just went through and the actions and who's responsible for them.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will send a copy of, I'll incorporate it into the minutes and send copies of the minutes to the various parties.
Okay. And please add that one page for Mr. Ionin, just so you can see that and,
I will
kind of
provide
get an
that.
idea of what she's looking for. And then as far as further actions on this?
As your discretion, would you like to continue this to your next meeting?
I think we should do that, but why don't we take public comment first, and then
Right.
I'll make the motion to continue.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make another suggestion.
Okay.
We currently have approximately 4 or 5 additional files related to the planning department, various members of the planning department, and the Park Merced project in terms of requests for documents.
Okay.
I'd like to also include those as part of the rescheduling of this item.
Okay.
Include those at the same time.
Are those new complaints or complaints where we've already found it?
Those are new complaints, but it's all related to the same subject matter.
Okay.
Can we ask Ms. Gavin if that's okay, and then consolidate and move forward?
Yes, Ms. Gavin, would you be open to having your case as, okay, thank you. And in response, I might like to give Mr. Iona maybe a little bit more than, when's our next meeting? It's 2 months, not 1 month now, is that right?
Approximately, yes.
Approximately 60 days. Okay, will
Yes.
that give you time to put together some policies and procedures? Okay, all right. It'd be nice to get this and the other cases wrapped up at our next meeting, if that's okay with everybody. All right.
Public comment, and then I'll make a motion.
So is there any public comment on what we've discussed? Seeing none, let's make a motion to continue this as stated to our next meeting and include other related cases.
Yes, I just want to confirm that we are continuing this to the next meeting of the EOTC, and I will be adding to the docket any complaints related to the planning department and the Park
Ms.
Merced
Gavin.
project that were filed by Anonymous,
Thank you.
either as part of the EOTC or as part of the complaint committee, whichever
Yeah,
is.
Anonymous and other
Okay.
parties.
And we're clear that we're asking Ms. Gavin to review the website and see what's there, and if there's anything further to ask Mr. Ionin, we're asking Mr. Ionin to review the Sunshine file, and if possible, to recap what was requested and what's already been provided. And we're also asking Mr. Ionin to come back with policies, procedures, and forms that we can talk about. And I would leave it up to the chair if you want to divide the file in that way. But I will so move that we continue to the next meeting with all of those understandings.
Yeah, we can divide the file. That's fine.
That'll be divided, one for procedures and one concerning the information request.
Yep. Okay, very good.
And I need a second.
Second. Each to it.
What am I supposed to say?
Nothing. Just I in a few seconds.
Oh, aye.
Not
What?
yet. Never mind, hold on.
I made a motion, so somebody needs to second the motion.
second.
The motion was continue it to the next meeting.
Do we need a vote, or can we do that without objection?
We can pass that without objection.
Okay.
As long as there is no objection. This item is continued to the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ionin. Thank you, Ms. Gavin.
Item number 4. One moment, please. Item number 4, file number 14043, hearing on status of the order determination, complaint filed by Emmanuel Corcolas against Deputy Chief Lynn Tamioko, San Francisco Police Department, for violating Administrative Code Section 67.24G and 67.27D for failing to provide the requester an explanation of the nature of the exempt information and suggests alternative sources for information. Just as a reminder, at the last meeting of the EOTC, Deputy Chief Tamioko agreed to provide Mr. Corcolas written verification that the report case ending in 370 and 386 had been concluded. From my understanding, that written verification has been provided, and both parties have agreed that that portion of the order of the request was satisfied. The second part is, in addition, if possible, a copy of the redacted police report should be provided to the complainant. The police department, from my understanding, has stated that they cannot provide that redacted version because if it was redacted, there would be nothing left in the document. The complainant does not agree with that. And that is that's the last update.
That's your personal summary?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. All right, Mr. Corcolas, would you like to approach? Hello
Good
again.
evening, members of the
How are
committee.
you?
I, like Victor mentioned, I did receive a letter from the San Francisco Police Department, a verification that reads, the San Francisco Police Department has concluded a review of its record that has found that there are no pending charges against you regarding incident report ending in 386 and 370. The emergency protective orders in connection with those incident reports have expired with no further action from the complainants. I do appreciate the fact that the San Francisco Police Department did provide me with that, even though it was not what we had requested at the last hearing. I had expected something in the effect of this, which is a closing of the case. Like, this is basically the report that I had filed, claiming that the reports ending in 386 and 370 were false. And this is the result. And this is basically what I was looking forward to receiving from the San Francisco Police Department, stating that, the investigation was over, rather than this letter, which, once again, it does go quite a ways towards what I needed, and I do appreciate the time of Ms. Banuelos and Assistant Chief Tamioka. However, we're still having a problem as far as being provided with even a redacted copy of report ending in 386. According to the Sunshine Ordinance report, according to law enforcement information here, it says that the district attorney, chief of police, and sheriff are encouraged to cooperate with the press and other members of the public, etc., etc. Under government section 25303, I do not see anything here that says that this information should be still confidential. There are no juvenile witnesses. There's no personal or otherwise private information that I'm requesting, since everything is already a matter of record. They were included in Police Report 370 and all that. Also, while I was sitting here, I was looking at the General Order 3.16b info that must be released after the case is closed. And I do not see anything in here that says that this information should not be released. I mean, witnesses' names and addresses, alphabetical letters should be substituted, except where the law requires release when this information is requested by a victim. Personal and otherwise private information are related to the law. Identity of confidential sources, secret investigate techniques or procedures, or information that would endanger law enforcement personnel. So I'm still requesting a redacted copy of the incident report. I would definitely like to know what I was accused of. And also, I'm definitely would be willing to wait until the San Francisco Police Department actually gives me a supplemental, like the copy that the actual case has been closed, just like the report that I had filed claiming that the other two reports were false.
We'll have questions in a bit.
But basically, that is all I'm requesting. Once again, I just...
That's fine. We'll have questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody in support of the complainant? Seeing none, the respondent, please approach.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sergeant William McCarthy. I'm assigned to the SFPD Legal Division.
Welcome.
Thank you. So on September 26th of this year, the department was sent an email from the requester that basically said that, thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. I've received your letter of September 22nd, 2014. That should take care of all legal questions in regards to the disposition of both reports and EPOs. And So at this point, we're going to stand by, the department is standing by in regards to protecting the safety of the victim. Domestic violence victims, their safety is paramount, and we take that very seriously. Not only do we have a duty, we have a responsibility to ensure that the victim is protected.
Okay. In your estimation, would the narrative of this case, if released, help identify this victim?
There is some information in the narrative, and from what I understand, the entire narrative would be redacted because of the information in there is very specific.
Okay, and that would, if released to Mr. Koukoulas or someone else, would indicate who the victim might be.
Yes, and that would provide a concern to the department for the victim's safety and well-being.
Okay, but you also understand that we're trying to balance, a right to face your accuser and know what you're being accused of. And I know this goes past the purview of this, but is there nothing that you feel that can be released out of the narrative that does not endanger the original victim or alleged victim?
The entire narrative will be redacted.
Okay. Member Pilpel.
Yeah, and welcome. Is it
Thank you.
Sergeant McCarthy?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, and welcome. We've heard from your colleagues before, but you're new here, so. Okay, the email that you referenced from Mr. Koukoulas, we don't have that in the file. If it's relevant, you might want to provide a copy to us.
More than happy to.
Do you have it handy? You could pop
have
it
an extra?
on the screen if you have it.
And while you're doing that, the thing that's really bothering me about this, even if the narrative, and I believe that you read the content of it, that's fine. We'll just get a copy.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll put it in the file.
Thanks.
I guess the thing that's bothering me about this, even if the narrative or most of the narrative needs to be redacted, it seems to me that what I consider directory information, the who filed the report, when it was filed, where it was filed, their star number, those sorts of things, that wouldn't be subject to redaction. So where was that other police report that we had, the one that Mr. Koukoulas provided? Yeah, so if you look at that as an example, if something like that were provided with the narrative section redacted, but with all the other stuff available, that would, from my perspective, meet the thing. I think Mr. Koukoulas is looking for the report with as much information available as possible, as minimal redaction as possible, but the report itself. And I think our perspective is sort of, yeah, that makes sense. And even if the narrative and all the identifying particulars need to be redacted for whatever basis you're asserting, there should be other information on the report that isn't subject to redaction. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So just for reference, this is a supplemental report
Understood.
to an initial report that the requester had filed in rebuttal to the two other ones that were filed.
I just didn't have any other police report to refer
Right.
to, so yeah.
So you're basically requesting that the report ending in
386?
386 be redacted.
Well, we're not requesting we're requesting that a copy of it, subject to whatever redaction you deem necessary, be provided, and that was actually the request from 2 months ago. Did I? Yes.
Even at the risk of turning over
A blank report? Really?
Well, one second. And there have been instances in other city departments where I have seen heavily redacted documents to the point where it's black, 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 lots of white space, black, 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 and just a date and CC so-and-so. And you're like, what the hell is this? That's a public record that's been heavily redacted but was released. Crazy as it may sound, that may,
that would suffice, I think.
I mean,
for-
something that ends in 386 has somebody's name and da-da-da, and with a big blacked out space. Okay. If that's what it is, that's what it is.
See that supplemental that says that it was closed and no charges were filed?
But he's asking for another thing. So he's asking for a supplemental report
That's a different issue.
Right.
Okay.
Which has never been requested.
Understood, and you may need to make a separate request for
The letter
that.
of verification basically states and refers to what he's requested in the supplemental report.
Well, then that's something that you two need to talk about on your own. I'm still stuck with the redacted 386 report that hasn't been provided. David,
And I believe, Mr. Kourkoulas, that you're trying to gather this all for, is it immigration status or?
Yes, I am the victim of a violent crime. Okay, I was shot in my chest September 4th, 2012.
Use the mic. Use the mic.
Department.
Mr. Kourkoulas, use the mic.
Approach the mic, please.
And like I said, I do appreciate all the help that I can receive from the San Francisco Police
Okay,
Department.
so it sounds like this evening, we're going to get you a fully redacted or as
Thank you.
as
And
redacted
I want to
386. And outside of that, if you have additional requests, I think you'll have to submit a separate IDR and make sure you state very clearly what you're looking for so that Sergeant McCarthy or someone else can know what to get for you in short order.
Thank you. That would be appreciated. The other thing is, as far as the confidentiality goes, the person that filed police report number 386 is named in police report number 370 as a witness bearing, and if there is a copy of police 370 in the file, you will see that her name, her address, and all the other personal information that the police department is seeking to redact from police report 386 is available in the one ending in 370. And in it, there is a section that does say that she was together with the person that filed police report 370. She does appear as a witness, so I don't see the matter of confidentiality there. Once that person has already been named, and she claims in police report 370 that the psychologist approached them in the middle of the street and told them that I'm dangerous with no information provided. And this is what the San Francisco Police Department too can actually obtain an emergency protective order. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Hold on. Member Pilpel?
To be fair, we're not going too far into police procedure and crime victim confidentiality and all that. We're just trying to get you what you can from all of this, and even if the information that they're redacting is provided elsewhere in a different report, to the extent that it intersects with the penal code, blah, 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 and the this and the that, and we're doing all we can, okay? I'm sorry that there isn't more. There you go. I had a couple other quick items to follow up with Sergeant McCarthy.
Thank you, Member.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, and I'm not sure that how much we're doing this tonight. I looked on the website, and maybe we're on a different website now, under sfpolice.org, your basic website.
Yes, sir.
There is a section for how to get your police report, and there's a separate section for public records and public records requests. If you can arrange to print that stuff out and send it to us, I'm actually interested in that, so that, and I alluded to this in the earlier case, we would like, and this is pretty okay, it's not as, what's the word, intuitive on the website as you might want it to be, but we want people to be able to go to a website and say, I want a police report, how do I get it? Oh, there's a way to get it, there you go. I'm looking for a public record that's not a police report. Oh, that's how you get it. The police are a pretty primary contact point for the public. We'd like that information to be there, to be current, to have the right forms, and for there to be procedures and bulletins and DGOs to support that. So what's there now, if you can print that out and get it to us with the, the forms?
Absolutely.
And if there are other internal procedures that we haven't seen, we'd like to see those to ensure that there's a way, because there was an issue with Mr. Kourkoulas' case and a different case that we heard recently about things getting sent from one thing to the other. Well, you go to legal, no, you have to go to records management. Well, but if it's a public affairs thing, then you go to public affairs. No, you got to talk to the chief's office. So we're trying to avoid that finger pointing and have people have an easy way to get this stuff. If we can provide input on the content of it so that it makes sense. And just finally, this old DGO 3.16, this is 20 years old. There have been changes to law. There have been changes to procedures. You've got supplemental bulletins and all that. That DGO really needs to get updated. And so that's not going to happen tonight. It's not going to happen in the next 2 weeks. It's something that we want to encourage you to put on the list of DGOs, talk to your command staff, get that in the works, because that should be current, and I would suggest that it probably isn't. And I don't think you're disagreeing with that.
Well, no, and I do know that it is under consideration and that the chiefs and deputy chiefs are in the process of reviewing it and seeing what updates and revisions need to be made to General Order 3.16.
And we would love it if you could keep us, or have your appropriate people keep us posted on the progress there. Again, we're not necessarily, we're not dictating content, but we're very interested in that being up to date. And again, I suggest that it isn't.
Absolutely.
Does that all?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Sergeant McCarthy.
Thank you.
So I think what I'm sensing here is perhaps a redacted version of 386 to satisfy this particular complaint, and then Mr. Koukoulas, if you have additional requests, to do so through the appropriate channels to the police department, and then to keep us up to date on the what is it, 3186?
Mr. Chairman,
3.16.
may I make a suggestion?
Please.
May we have a motion to continue this matter to the call of the chair? However, I'd like to put in proviso that upon receipt of the police report ending in 386, that the file be concluded.
Perfect. That's exactly.
That way, it does not need to come back to committee.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That'd be good.
You need one more?
So moved. Yeah. Do you want a second?
Second.
Okay. We're going to take public comment on that motion. Is there any public comment on this case or this motion? Seeing none, do so without objection.
Yes, just
Once again, it was to do what?
just to summarize, the motion was to continue the matter to the call of the chair with the provision that upon receipt of police report ending in 386, the matter shall be concluded.
Yes, but again, can we divide the file so that we can follow up on the police procedures?
Yes.
We'll create a separate file concerning police procedure. It does not to be divided, we'll just create a separate file for that.
Right. And reference that document that you had there.
The 3.16. Good. Everything's good?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you both. Thank you.
Item number 5. Public comment. Members of the public may address the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction but not on today's agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to provide general public comment? There is none. Okay. Next on the agenda is item number 6, file number 14054, hearing on the status of the order of termination complaint filed by Philip Carlton against Richard Lee, Department of Public Health, for violating Administrative Code, Section 67.21B, 67.25A, for failure to respond to a request for public records in a timely manner. The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force referred the matter to the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee for a review of the department's procedures for processing public records request.
Okay. Mr. Carlton, welcome back.
Good evening, gentlemen. As you remember, on May 22nd, I requested information from Mr. Lee. He rather arrogantly and contemptuously replied on the 27th, I'm not aware of any requirements or regulation that requires the DPH to post this report on our website. The report was posted. He informed me after the meeting on September 3rd. I did not understand, because I've got a hearing loss, that he told you on September 3rd that that report had been posted. I asked him afterwards, he and Miss Cindy Comerford afterwards, when did they post the report, and why I wasn't even notified. I'm the one that requested that the Public Health Department post that report on their website. They spend thousands of dollars for these reports, and they don't post them on a regular basis. And I spent several weeks afterwards looking for the report myself. It's so horribly nested in their report. First, you have to go to the Public Health Department under Environmental Health. May I have your attention? Can you look up here, please? Okay. Then you have to go to another site.
Put that on our screen, that way we can see it. Hold on one second. So these are snapshots from their website that you're showing us?
This is their reports.
Okay.
Then you go here. Then you have to go
Victor,
here
focus.
to resources where it says documents.
Okay.
Then you have to go to another place called work here. Then you finally get the report under work. Here's the report that I requested that they post on their website. Okay. Now, I sent a message to Mr. Lee on, let's see, September 22nd, after he finally sent me the links to that report, thanking him for publishing 2 reports. He published not only the report that Department of Public Health produced in 2013, but they also had this report that I also requested. This is a report by the Mayor's Office, Office of Supervisor Tang, the San Francisco Department of Public Health, and the San Francisco Planning Department. I recently looked, and this one has vanished. Here again, we spent probably hundreds or thousands of dollars producing this report, and it's no longer linked. You can see it right here, that it's no longer linked. Now, I don't understand this contempt of the public. We deserve to see these reports when they're produced. After they're produced at expense of time, energy of the capable staff of the department. And after the meeting on September 3rd, I asked Mr. Lee and Ms. Comfort, they didn't, as I said, they didn't even have the courtesy to send me an email message. We have finally linked that report. Okay. One thing I think you should insist is that whenever reports are produced, that they link them, to their website somewhere. Okay. Now, also, I hope you'll ask them why they removed this report produced by the mayor and the supervisor and the other departments, why they removed it, and if it's located somewhere else on the website, on city government websites. Okay. Now, I do want to thank Ms. Nancy Saria. I did make another immediate disclosure request for all the CDs of the recent directors' meetings. Those were provided for me. I asked for all letters to massage parlors regarding from the director, and that was provided for me, so I thank them very much. I think they have changed their mentality, but there's still this I don't know how to say it.
Lack of regard.
Unwillingness to link the reports so that the public can read them.
We'll ask.
I mean,
about that.
this is. Sorry?
We'll ask about that.
We'll definitely
get to that.
We'll get to the bottom of that.
Yep.
So as of right now, you've received everything that we issued in the order of determination?
They have sent me copies of the report, but they have not linked them where other members of the public can read them.
Okay.
I didn't pay for them. The citizens of the city and county of San Francisco paid for them. They deserve the right to be able to read the reports and review them for their own interests.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Carlton. Would the respondents please approach? Well, I should ask, is anybody in support of Mr. Carlton? Seeing none, respondent, please approach.
Good afternoon. Richard Lee, Acting Director of Environmental Health.
Welcome back, Mr. Lee. How are you?
Thank you. Okay, it's my understanding that we talked about the posting, but we talked specifically what we were in violation of. It's my understanding that we're in violation of not providing a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation to Mr. Carlton in a timely manner. So that's what I addressed in, I guess, a letter that was sent to you.
October 30th?
October 30th. So this is my reply on what we will try to do to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you talk to his rather valid statement about reports generally not posting on your website,
Okay.
not being linked?
The reason why the massage report from our department was posted on that site is because that's the staff. We have a separate website for Ms. Comerford's group, which is called the Program for Health Equity and Sustainability. So all the reports that staff produces is on that website. So that's actually a separate website from our regular
And not on the main
environmental health.
DPH, not on the main
Well, it
DPH
is.
site
It is.
or the EH.
It's not the main environmental health website.
But it is linked to your site.
It is linked to our site.
Hold on. I need to hold that thought for a moment. What I did over here. What I did over here was go to the main DPH website, and then under environmental health, your unit, I looked for massage program, and I don't see it here. Okay.
That's going to be separate from
I'm sorry, we're going to have to share the microphone.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that the environmental health main site on the DPH website doesn't have massage programs specifically.
If you look under businesses.
Okay, but it's not clear from here. So if you can add it to this site.
We need to stay on the microphone, please.
Okay.
So we can record.
So it's under
Mr. Lee, just talk into the mic and we look on the screen with Mr. Pilpel.
under here.
Look on the laptop.
Okay.
Would you both go
That
to the
way.
other side and look at it at the same,
Yeah, okay.
same location?
Oh, there we go.
It's a bit unusual, but this is what we're doing. So what I was suggesting is if you can either move some of these programs to the main site or somehow make clear on the main site that massage program is under business activities, because that's not clear. And if you've got reports and documents that are not here but are on a separate site, to somehow reference them here and say, for additional reports, please go to this link, because otherwise one wouldn't know if intuitively you think, hey, this is part of the health department, hey, this is part of environmental health, and you go there and it's not there, you would think it's not there. And I think that's what we were getting at.
Well, I mean, I have to admit, that's probably our environmental health. Probably our environmental health website is probably not that well designed. Unfortunately, also is that we were given a specific design by the whole health department, how we had designed our website. So we would have to probably change it a little bit. But right now, we know there is a separate massage program website. And my understanding right now is that we linked the report that Mr. Carlton asked for, specific right to that website.
That may be. I think all I was suggesting is intuitively, if you look at this site, you would think, oh, this program is part of the thing that, oh, I don't see it. And if there are other reports, they're not referenced here. So somehow if you can include a link or some text under the mission or somewhere in the bottom here that there's additional stuff or that it's buried at a lower level, because otherwise I would look at this and say, oh, this is the extent of the programs within EH. And in fact, it's not.
Okay, we'll look at
so
that then.
you can talk to your web people about
Okay,
that.
we'll look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I think the follow-up issue was on reports themselves. I don't personally think that every single report that the city issues needs to be on a website, because that's a lot of stuff. But I would leave it to you and your director and your whole staff to figure out when there's a significant report about a significant issue, or you get a number of public requests for a report. If something is of great public interest, I would assume that you're going to publish it.
I think part of it also has to do with, okay, so obviously if we were the sole author we would be posting that. But I think in this case, there was a number of authors, so I think it was maybe not clear about who would actually be posting it, or all three agencies would be posting it.
Okay, so I guess all we're doing is suggesting more sensitivity, environmental sensitivity, that's something that's of public interest, where possible, that you would publish it so that it would be more generally available.
Okay. Again, there was no...
I'll leave that to your discretion, but just so that you've got some heightened sensitivity on that.
Again, I don't think there was intent that we were trying to hide it.
I agree.
I mean, it was just the fact that we do have a separate website for that specific program, because that's how it was designed several years ago.
And you may want to talk with other folks within the department if there are other sort of programs and websites on the side. I know how big and complicated DPH is, but the more things are siloed, the more difficult it is to find things. For all I know, child and maternal health has their own little thing, and the AIDS office has their own little thing, and SFGH. So, if you're looking for something that the city did and you don't know who's got it, well, then you got to check 10 different sites. Well, that's a pain.
Yeah, and unfortunately, DPH has 6,000 employees, and so all these different programs, just even the hospital versus the population health division, it's just, there's a lot of programs.
So I assume that you've got a content person within your group, whether it's Ms. Comerford or somebody?
We don't have a specific person that handles our website. That's part of the problem.
That's part of the problem.
We had one person before, and that person
left,
and we're not going to be able to replace that person now.
Okay. I don't know if I saw Ms. Soraya in the back. No? Okay. Yes? Welcome. I don't know who's responsible for DPH's website overall, if that's you, if it's someone else within your orbit. But I guess I'm stating pretty clearly that we would like you to give a look to the website and all of its far-flung programs and appendages and see if you can bring some more coherence to it, for lack of a better term.
No, absolutely. This is something.
Okay.
This is a project that's on our list right now. We do have.
And this is another
team.
one that isn't going to get fixed tonight or in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
But it's a process, and you've got a lot of different people to talk to and make this work.
Right.
Content people, web people, city people, a lot of people.
It's being worked on.
Thank you. And if you can just keep us posted on this, regardless of how we dispose of this complaint, on an ongoing basis, that would be nice.
Absolutely.
We would like people to find the stuff they want on the DPH website. You'd like that too.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, can I make a comment about our website? What happens is that, again, I looked underneath there, and the massage program is under the businesses, because the vast majority of people who uses or looking for that are people who are actually applying to become a massage establishment or a practitioner. So that's why massage program is listed under business regulations, okay, or business licenses.
Yeah. It just seems like you've got one list on the top site, and then when you go to the detail, there are more programs, and it's confusing.
So let me respond to that. See, what you have to do, you have to go to the publications. Can you get this?
Do you want to-
Is this here?
Mr. Lee, can you help, or somebody?
So you have to go to publications here.
I've been through this.
Yeah, it's under publications, it's not under programs.
Publications. Then you have to go to other environmental health program publications.
Right. Again, it's not
Then
at all
when
intuitive.
When you get there, then you have to go to resources, and you'll get documents. Then when you go to documents, then you have to click on work, way down here. I mean, it's nested.
That's what I suggested.
Okay.
So they're going to look at that.
Okay, all right. All right, and one other thing is, I would like to ask Mr. Lee why he has taken this one down. Am I going to have to file another complaint with the mayor's office, Supervisor Tang's office, the Department of Public Health, and the Planning Department? Am I going to have to file another complaint?
I'm sorry,
because they refuse to link this
Mr. Carl,
report so
Mr.
that
Show
San
that?
Francisco citizens can...
Can you put that on the screen? I don't know what that report is.
It's in your documents.
Just put the first page on there. This is the one from
We're not
2000.
seeing it. Can somebody help us?
It's
Victor, just put it on face down or up a little bit.
It's on pages 218, 219 of your documents that I submitted on October 3rd, in October.
Hold on a second. We're still not seeing it. Can you do something with the screen?
Page 219,
Our pages are different.
excuse me, 218, 219, 220, 221.
I believe you. I'm just, Victor. can you help
Hold
us?
on, we're just,
This is the document.
oh, I see.
Okay. So,
They had it up for a while.
okay.
Then I visited recently. It's
Mr. Carlson,
gone.
let me interrupt you there. We can get to that in a second. Let me ask you this. Have you received everything in the scope of your original complaint? That's what we're hearing.
Yes, I have, and I
Okay.
thank Mr. Lee.
Okay.
And I personally thank Mrs. Saria.
Okay, so if you can just take a seat 1 second, we're going to have a few more questions for Mr. Lee. Thank you.
So that particular document that we just saw, was that the famous PowerPoint from the discussion with the state whoever's?
You know, I'm not sure. I mean, because I know there was 2 reports. One of them was written by our program, okay? And then there was one presentation
Okay.
that was given by Ms. Comerford to the State Assembly people.
The delegation.
Right, the
Okay.
delegation. So
Are both of those documents now up on your website, wherever?
again, I'm not sure, okay? Because, you know, again, I'm not the one who does it specific. I know that
Can
both
you
of them
have
are on.
somebody check, and if they're not, to ensure that both of those documents are there, because it sounds like that was a request.
Okay. Okay.
They are not there.
Okay,
Okay,
so
but I think one of them is, though, right?
it sounds like one is and the other isn't.
Is one there? Is one of the reports there?
No, it's not.
Both of them? Are you saying both?
October 2013 report that your department produced is there.
Okay, so there's one that's there.
So one is there and one isn't.
Okay.
And it
Right.
sounds like it's probably the presentation
That's right.
that isn't. So if you can,
It's that
Okay,
PowerPoint
but again, see,
presentation.
that's not necessarily.
I know, but it's
Okay.
related to the program, and if you could, that would be nice. Thank you.
Okay.
And
So
I also wanted to, I'm sorry, I wanted to note for the record, this letter from the department that's in our packet at page 88, it's, to my way of thinking, a rather extraordinary letter. The department acknowledged that we made errors and that we're making changes. We've notified staff. We're going to, I think it's a pretty good acknowledgement letter, and I wanted to note that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, again, it was all of it because we weren't clear about if a presentation was public information or not.
We're all
And so
getting
now I
better
think it's
at
clear
this.
now. Okay?
I think it is a good letter, Member Pilpel, but I think I'd like to see something more concrete about policies and procedures. So what I'd like to do is, have Mr. Lee follow up on that PowerPoint presentation, having that posted. Also have a little more dialogue with you about, a concrete set of policies and procedures, just like you heard in the past few cases. I'd like to.
I think that's better directed at Ms. Soraya.
Yeah, you can. Actually, we had a meeting with Ms. Soraya with our staff.
Okay.
All the people who handled the public information requests, and so I think we got a good, a good overview of what were expected of us.
Okay, good. And then we'll continue this to the call of a chair with the option of.
I'd just like to say again.
Mr. Carlton, hold on 1 second. I'm still talking.
Okay.
Please take a seat. Thank you. And continue this to the call of the chair, and with the option of closing it when we receive these documents from Ms. Soraya's department. Mr. Carlton.
I have seen a change in their attitude, and I wanted to again thank Mr. Lee and thank Mrs. Saria. This is the way it should be. Shouldn't have to fight to get documents.
Very good.
It should not have to fight to get documents.
Very good. And we appreciate your efforts to bring this to the light and help.
I hate to get angry, but
Nope. This is exactly what this is all
Thank
about.
God you folks are here to help us. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for your efforts also. Thank you.
I think this may be another one where we have 2 separate files, and there's more work with Ms. Soraya on the website and on the procedures, and I I think we're mostly done with Mr. Lee.
I agree.
But
May I
so we should
inquire as
probably-
to the exact documents that we are awaiting?
I don't think there was any document that Mr. Carlton was still waiting for. I think we were making a request to Mr. Lee to see that the presentation, the legislative presentation,
The
was
PowerPoint.
posted on the appropriate website.
Yeah, the PowerPoint presentation also be posted. Secondly, the changes to their policies and procedures that they allude to in the October 30th letter, if we can get a formal copy of that.
And thirdly, that they consider the the range of websites and their update and interconnectedness over the fullness of time.
Right. I don't think we need to divide the file. I think this is all policy and procedure related.
Okay, well, but we still have, but this isn't a PNC file.
May I suggest, since are so many different documents that cannot be pinned down to one exact document, maybe we should just continue the entire matter to call the chair and as one single item, since it will be coming back as.
Okay, but we're
for
giving
website
direction on three
procedures.
things.
Okay. What I'm trying to avoid is having it come back unnecessarily. So if we can satisfy this by continued communication from the two different departments to us, and if we're satisfied with that, we can then close the file. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay. The motion is continue to call the chair with the option to close the file upon receipt of a letter from the Department of Public Health. Would you also need confirmation from the complainant?
No.
Upon receipt of a letter from the Department of Public Health, and we would like to authorize the chair of this committee to review that letter and make the determination of whether or not the file should be closed.
Thank you. All right. Member Pilpel?
Okay, so the letter is from the department saying that they posted the presentation, but then I think that we still open a new file on procedures in the website.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes, and the chair is authorized to close this file upon receipt of the letter.
Right. Okay.
And am I moving that?
So moved by me.
And I'm
Second.
There you go. Even better.
Do you have any public comment on this motion or on this case?
Can I also speak a comment?
Unfortunately, you can't because you're a party to this case. Seeing none, can we take this without objection?
Can we just be sure our party's clear on what we're doing? Okay.
So, Mr. Clerk, if you could summarize for both parties what's happening.
This matter is going to be continued to call the chair. The Department of Public Health is directed to address letter to the Sunshine Orange Task Force concerning the requested documents being posted online and other various instructions by the committee. Upon receipt of that letter, the chair shall review the letter and make the determination to either close the file or to reschedule it. In addition to that, a new file shall be opened concerning website design and policy and procedures.
For handling public records requests. Yeah.
Yes.
Also reviewable and closable by the chair.
The second file shall be a hearing file. So
We'll hear that so they can come back and say.
Okay.
yes,
Got it. All right.
that motion was made and adopted without objection.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Not at this point.
Probably not, but Mr. Raya will.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carlson.
I feel like I need a massage now. Oh wait.
Oh, inappropriate.
Item number 7, file number 14084, hearing on status of order determination. Complaint filed by Jason Grant Garza against Barbara Garcia, Faye de Guzman, Department of Public Health, for violating Administrative Code Section 67.21 A, 67.29, 67.29-7 for failure to provide the requested San Francisco General Hospital video recording, failure to maintain the index of records, and failure to send a knowledgeable representative to the task force meeting. The Sunshine Orange Task Force referred the matter to the Education Outreach and Training Committee for a review of the department's policy regarding the maintenance of video records at the San Francisco General Hospital and procedures for maintaining the index of records. It is requested that a person knowledgeable of the video retention policy and the reason why the requested video at San Francisco General Hospital is missing attend this meeting.
Okay. I don't see Mr. Garza here. Would the respondent please approach?
So there were 3 items requested that we provide today in the determination, and I have our new security director here from San Francisco General Hospital to address the first one, which is presenting our policy regarding the maintenance of video records at San Francisco General.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Good evening, members.
Hello.
Welcome.
So in regards to the practice at San
you
Francisco
identify
General.
Could you just identify yourself so we know
Yes.
who you are?
Basil Price, I'm the Director of Security.
Could you repeat that? There was a little noise.
Basil Price.
Thank you.
So go ahead.
The practice at San Francisco General in regards to the releasing of surveillance video footage, as the department, the security department, receives those requests, whether it be from the city attorney or administrative departments. The first part of that process is to first verify that we actually have that video footage, and then upon verifying that, a copy of it is provided to that department. If for whatever reason we don't have that footage, then of course that's they're informed of that as well, with an explanation as to why. In most cases, there's probably about 3 different reasons why we wouldn't have that footage. Keep it in mind that the footage is able to be archived and retrieved up to a year. If any event that an incident actually occurs outside of the view of the camera, or that request or that incident actually exceeds the time period that we're able to pull footage, or in cases where the system, there's been a malfunction and so the video footage is not able to be retrieved. If that's the case, then we would provide that information. But that's the process as far as how video records are provided.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah, Member Pilpel?
Okay, so you said the retention period is 1 year.
That's correct.
Just so I understand, are these now physical tapes, or are they now computer files?
It's computer files.
Okay, because it used to be physical tapes that got re-recorded, not anymore.
That's
okay.
correct.
So after a year, unless you've tagged them because of whatever, they just disappear. And
That's correct.
Okay, so that's the 1 year retention period. And you're now the Director of Security for SF General?
For Department of Public Health.
Oh, for the whole department?
That's correct.
That's a hell of a job. Okay. And as we will talk about further with the Sheriff's Department, the video recording system at SF General is DPH's system. Your department is the custodian of the records. You operate the system. It's yours. So if they make a request because they want to see something, it's their request to you, but it's your system, it's your records, it's your everything.
That's correct.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Were there other members that wanted to, or there respondents?
Yeah, so regarding the second item, the determination, providing information regarding departmental procedures for maintaining the index of records. So I spoke with Frances Culp in our policy department, and she was supposed to be here tonight, but she called in sick. So I'm going to share with you the information she shared with me. So the index of records, as she explained it, is maintained by the city administrator, and we become involved as it becomes a department-wide project when the city administrator makes a formal request for any updates to our records, any additions, any deletions. This happens once in a blue moon, according to Francis. It's been years since they've asked us for any updates. But when they do, they have to be reviewed and approved by the city attorney, and then we submit them to the city administrator. Currently, we're under the impression that the index of records is in the process of being revamped, and all city departments will be asked to do an update on their retention and destruction schedule and all of the policies, and we're going to submit which is currently in draft form, our policy for video retention that we've shared with you today when that happens.
Okay.
And then the last part of...
I'll follow up after you're done.
At the end, yeah.
Okay, just the last part of the determination, the explanation of why the requested video at San Francisco General Hospital was missing.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. Eric Hondo, Chief Engineer, San Francisco General Hospital.
Good evening.
During the time that his request was made, our video system was compromised. Previous to that, we had worked with the company to try to resolve the issues. They could not, and their determination was that we had to reconfigure the whole entire server and the recordings, the hard drives that kept those recordings. We took 4 weeks to download the previous year's worth of information, and when they released it back to operation, we realized that they had made a configuration setting issue. So 3 weeks had passed. We had to go back in to reconfigure everything again. And so we went and we worked with the departments, with the Sheriff's Department, asked, are there any requests for any videos? There were no requests at the time that we were aware of, and so in order to expedite and get our camera system back online, we deleted the last 3 weeks, reconfigured the system, put it back online, all cameras came back online. The following week, we got the request for the video. That was not there.
Okay, so there was a 3-week period that you had to basically get rid of to get back on track?
Otherwise, it would have been another 3 weeks to try to download or back up the 3 weeks, and so
again,
our system had been compromised so long, we expedited.
Okay.
Does the backup still exist anymore?
Member Popo?
Does the backup still exist for those 3 weeks, or not?
No, we lost those 3 weeks.
Okay. So effectively now you have, going back a year prior to today, except for a 3-week period.
Well, yes.
Pretty much?
Yes.
Okay. And going forward, I don't need to know how many cameras or how they're positioned. Whatever cameras are out there, you're capturing it real time, it's being recorded, and you've got a year's worth of stuff. So
correct.
And it all works. And you're, whoever it is, Siemens, they're with the program, your IT people,
yes, sir.
It's all working.
Yes, sir. We have them out there. Siemens is there once a week.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
This is before the task force members.
So I wanted to follow up with Ms. Saria. The one thing that I didn't ask about on the index of records, I'm aware that Francis is involved in a citywide effort on the index of records and records management stuff. Generally, part of the problem is that with a small department, making a fix to the index of records is relatively straightforward. DPH is so big and massive and complicated, and you've got to get approvals from everybody internally, city attorney, controller, your commission. It's a lot of approvals to make any change to the index of records. Mm-hmm. So going through this citywide update is going to be a thing for a lot of departments. I think it's going to take a few years, frankly, for DPH, but I think we also need to build into that as changes occur in your organizational structure, in your record-keeping practices, in new records created or requirements from the feds or state requirements, that we need to have a faster way of just making a change to that little section without looking at the whole index of records. Because if we do that, it'll be 10 or 20 years before we can have an update for DPH, and that's just not workable. Mm-hmm. I think you recognize that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure in this case, since we were talking about video at SF General, if originally it was the sheriff or it was always you guys, or again, the technology changed, so it used to be physical tapes, now it's on a hard drive. I don't have an answer for this today, but I just think that we need to think about, and with Francis and the whole department, how to keep the index of records up to date for a department as big and complicated as DPH. I mean, that for me is the big challenge for the index of records. Frankly, the other departments, they're varying degrees of problem. DPH, I think, is the most complicated.
No, agreed. And when I was reviewing this with Francis, she took some time to actually look up when the last time that update was made, and she couldn't find it, and she said that was not a good thing. So, yeah. So it's been too long.
It was probably when Ann Cronenberg was still there.
Yeah.
I think in terms of disposition of this matter,
yes,
I think we've heard now somewhat ad nauseum about the video system. I think we're pretty clear about that. We just talked about the index of records, and unless there's, subject to public comment, I'm happy to put this particular thing to bed.
Agreed. Is there any public comment on this case? Seeing none, I'd like to conclude this case.
Is there a second?
I think it's no action.
Oh,
so matter
sorry.
concluded. Yeah.
There being no motion, the matter is concluded.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you. Item number 8, file number 14056, hearing on the status of the order of termination complaint filed by Jason Grant Garza against Ross Mercury, Paul Miyamoto, Kathy Gorwood, and Raymond Winters, Office of the Sheriff, for violating Administrative Code Sections 67.21A and 67.29 for failure to provide a video retention policy to the complainant and failure to maintain the index of records. The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force referred the matter to the Education Outreach and Training Committee for a review of the department's procedures for maintaining the index of records.
Good evening. I'm Freya Horn, one of the lawyers for the Sheriff's Department.
And we should note for the record, no appearance for the...
Yes, and Mr. Garza is not here, so please go ahead.
Thank you. I really don't have anything to add to what was already explained to you by DPH. I would just indicate we have exactly the same response as to the index of records that you were told by DPH. We did contact a representative indicating that we wanted to find out about doing updates, and we were told by the administrator's office that they're not currently processing any updates, that the city administrator's office intends on updating the entire index of records and will be contacting city departments when they're ready to proceed with that update, and we intend to cooperate fully with them as soon as that process starts.
Thank you. Mayor Pilpel?
Yeah. So a couple of things, and welcome, Ms. Horn. We've been dealing with Mr. Nico until this point, but I understood he was not available today. So on the index of records, I think what caught our attention in the first round was that there's an item here for video recordings of security cameras at City Hall, but no reference to video recordings. Actually, wait a moment. There was somewhere else. Oh, audio video recordings not otherwise specific are on here, but nothing about video recordings in the various facilities that you run in the city, in San Bruno, et cetera. So I think, and maybe it's only tangential to Mr. Garza's request, I think we were looking for an item to be included here about your video retention policies generally. Not suggesting what they should be, but that there should be some policy reference. So again, and this touches on what I just mentioned with DPH, if there's a way to just make that minor fix, great. If that has to wait for the big fix, so be it. And at a minimum, you probably want to replace Mr. Harrigan as a contact with you or Mr. Nico or somebody else in your shop, and make known to Ms. Lubomirsky from the city administrator's office who your contact is going forward on records management, because as you're hearing, this is going to be a big project, and you've got facilities and you've got legal issues and you've got all kinds of crazy things going on, and you want this to be up to date and you want this to be the least of your problems.
I certainly don't have any problem doing that. Again, as we were told, they didn't want to make any changes at this point with any information. We do have intake video facilities, which are video recordings, which it is at one of our jails, and then the other one that you already noted. So I'm happy to work with them and do little changes if they're willing to do it. But again, as we were told, they weren't willing at this point to do that. I'm hoping they'll at least be willing to change the contact information, although I will note this, that if they call the number, they would be immediately forwarded to one of us.
That's the main number, 7225.
Correct.
I know. It may be slightly off topic, but since you're here, do you know what your office's general experience is with records requests? Do you get a large number, a small number, and you or Mr. Nico or the appropriate staff deal with them?
Both Mr. Nico and I deal with them. It varies in time. Sometimes we get a lot, particularly if there's a particularly press-worthy incident. But yes, both of us deal with them. We have a record of all incoming public records requests, and as they're responded to, we keep a record of all that.
Okay. Otherwise, I'm good. If we need anything further, we know where to find you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this case? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I would suggest no motion, matter concluded.
There being no motion, this matter is concluded. Item number 9, file number 14067, hearing on the status of order of determination complaint filed by Charles Grissom against Frank Lee, Department of Public Works, for violating Administrative Code Section 67.21C for failure to assist the requester in identifying the existence, form, and nature of a requested record. The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force referred the matter to the Education Outreach Committee for a review of the department's procedures for processing public records. In addition, the task force requested information regarding training provided to staff regarding assisting the public in finding requested records. Please note that there is another file for Mr. Grissom on the Complaints Committee agenda that will go into detailed items on additional complaints.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair?
Member Pilpel.
So I wasn't here for this complaint, and I'm sorry, I did not listen to the video on it, so I'm not familiar with the details. It seemed like there may be a minor lingering issue about this instant complaint, and then a larger issue about training, and it seemed like the training issue was more the reason that it's here. But
correct. Mr. Clerk, is there any more summary you'd like to provide?
No.
Okay. All right. Mr. Grisham, if you'd like to approach. So what we're hearing in this particular case is what you've received for your original complaint and where you feel you are with that, and then we'll get to the other piece in the next meeting. So if you'd like to summarize where you are with this particular complaint.
Well, of my original complaint from June, when I asked for, in my words, an index of records in words that were clearly understandable, I think, and then reiterated that several times back then, after not getting through to Frank W. Lee on the index of records, I did receive a schedule of the records and the retention policy. Regarding emails, requests for all internal emails, my thrust on this has been, there's so many documents involved in this record now. From the beginning, I've been trying to find out, how often do people hurt themselves in public right-of-way around construction zones, because of the problems I've seen around those sites. So that's where I was coming from with this. My original complaint of June 7th, I not only do I ask for an index of records, perhaps not in the correct terms. Mr. Lee claimed he didn't understand what I was asking for the first, second, or third time. I reiterated that and continued to not understand and not respond with the schedule of records until after I contacted Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. So I did get this schedule of records. I have not received any emails. I'd like to know what are the internal emails at DPW regarding claims, injuries, accidents, hazardous conditions, the many things I've brought to the condition of DPW, Director Nuru's directly into his email box, to a number of high-ranking people who report directly to Director Nuru as well. Sanguinetti, Swice, Lopez come to mind. They've all been copied on my records request. So no emails at all, even though I've been requesting them since June. And then I have a problem with false statements that Mr. Lee has made. He's repeatedly made the claims, and I could give them to you verbatim, but I'm running out of time, that basically the Department of Public Works doesn't track claims, it doesn't receive them. From the very beginning, his initial response to my June 7th request was talk to the city attorney, talk to the police, talk to somebody else. He produced no records. It was not until after I contacted the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force that he produced the schedule of record retention, the policy related to that. However, still no emails, none of the 1 through 4 from my email of June 7th, and that's still pending. I still haven't got a single email. I will add that on Friday, I put in an immediate disclosure records request to Mr. Lee. It was he didn't acknowledge it, but DPW did acknowledge it, that it was being treated as an immediate disclosure. And then at the end of the day, Mr. Lee came back again, following his usual pattern, delivered no documents, produced 0 records again, referred me to a website where I could look up the job codes. It gave me the job codes, but those only gave me general information about a pay range for, let's say, Director Nuru's. It was within $45,000. I could narrow it down what Nuru makes. I'd asked for specific people's salary, which I believe is public information, and he gave me, again, another place to go and check. concluded the immediate disclosure records request. Now, that's not in here because that only happened Friday. But as far as my initial records request from June, still pending, no emails regarding 1 through 4 of that. And again, frankly, I feel like I'm being lied to because time and again, Mr. Lee, for example, initially he said our department does not accept claims. He disavows any knowledge of claim or injury related. Now it's come down to this word claim. But he disavows any knowledge or any tracking, or time and again, our department does not accept claims. Our department, again, on June 11th, and pushback on me again, we have no statistics, electronic data, or other documents that would show accident rates in the public right-of-ways adjacent to construction sites, historical trends, and so forth. So he denies it, and yet with the same thing he attaches to this email is the proof that that is a false statement. Now, I've seen the memorandum from City Attorney to Central Norris Task Force on this. It seems like the onus is on me to prove willful intent to deceive. And it's really hard, of course, as you know, to prove what's in somebody's mind. I don't know what his intent was, but I can tell you that since June, he has willfully declined to deliver these records. The attachment that I wanted to get to was, it's titled Department of Public Works Procedure 13.2.14 Special Status Request for Actions. And some of the verbiage in there includes the procedure. The senior inspector at the end of this process, this is about request for actions. This is DPW's own policy and procedures manual.
Do we have this, what you're referring to?
Excuse me?
What you're now referring to, do we have this?
It's in the emails. I agree that there have been voluminous emails, and unfortunately, a memorandum that you got from the city attorney's office in August had hundreds of pages of.
That's fine.
But yes, it's in the record, and I can show you what I'm talking about if you want to see what it looks like. It was delivered in that same email that Mr. Lee says we have no statistics, electronic data, or other documents that show accurate rates of public right-of-way. He also attached this procedure, DPW Procedure 13.2.14, that puts a lie to exactly what he's just said. They do have a procedure. They have a department called Claims, with a capital C, Claims, at DPW. So it's false that they don't track on claims. They don't track on injuries. Go to the city attorney. We don't know anything about that. Another place, he said, we would have no way of knowing, is the exact words he uses. I would have no way of knowing. We would have no way of knowing. That's not true. It's patently false. And any reasonable, again, in the same email where he denies that they have statistics or electronic, he attaches a procedure that details how staff or inspectors are required to track and escalate requests for actions. It even describes the keywords in the database shall be, and it describes the keywords that are to be logged into the database when these claim-related requests for actions are entered, as they are tracked at DPW. It gives the keywords, injure.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grisham. All right, I think
so he's lying.
We have a good idea of your case. Would the respondent please approach?
Can we take a recess for like 1 minute?
Yeah, 2-minute recess. And the respondent can gather their thoughts. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Jeremy Spitz, representing the Department of Public Works. Am I responding to Mr. Grisham now, or am I going over our department's public records procedures? I wasn't sure.
As a first step, go ahead and read what you've got prepared in response to this particular complaint, and then we'll have some questions and answers regarding some of his other statements.
So I'm responding to the complaint, not going over our department's public records procedures?
Well, I think part of the order of determination was to, have you tell us a little bit more about those procedures and what are in place, what have changed, et cetera. So if you want to start by addressing that particular complaint and then follow up with that might be a good approach.
Okay.
Can I also ask, I don't believe we've seen you before. You're
Mr. Spitz.
right. You're new with the department,
What's your title?
Assistant to the director. I am new with the department.
and did you replace someone?
No, I'm a subordinate of Frank Lee.
Okay, and Frank's here. You're just okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
I see Mr. Lee there. Okay. So you got thrown into the fire, so to speak.
Yes. All right. So. Okay. So the initial request for pre-litigation current pending legal claims against the city involving DPW in any aspect. I believe the central question of this case is whether or not we did the right thing in referring Mr. Grisham to the city attorney's office to get the records that he was looking for. The fact remains, despite Mr. Grisham's disagreement with it, that we don't have any centralized method of tracking emails regarding claims. We could potentially have the Department of Technology do a search of all of our 1,300 emails with the search term claim, but that wouldn't necessarily be very productive. We have had the Department of Technology do smaller searches with similarly vague search terms, and they turned up hundreds of they returned nearly 100 gigabytes of documents that were very difficult to go through and didn't really do anybody any good. So if he's looking for all of these emails to do with any claim, that's a difficult thing. So I think really everything that we have to say on the subject has been listed in Mr. Lee's responses to Mr. Grisham repeatedly. We have committed to going through all of the potential emails, going through the list of 522 claims, and seeing whether or not we have any emails related to them. But the fact is that process is quite time-consuming, and we are working on it. We're working with the city attorney's office to try and speed it up. Initially, our process, let's see if I can zoom out. There we go. Okay. All right, so there's a list that was provided to us, to the city attorney's office, of 522 claims. Mr. Grisham is asking for all emails related to any of the 522 claims.
Kind of flashing. Hold on 1 second. We're having a problem with the video. Kind of focusing in and out.
Oh, 544 claims, sorry.
Yeah. Now we're just having AV issues here. We should have had the DPH person stay on and help us with this.
How about we'll just believe that there is a process?
Okay, well, the point of this, I guess, is just to say that the process is quite time-consuming. So
That's good. That's good.
We go down the list. We have one claim. The list of claims.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so just for illustration, you probably won't be able to see the details, but this is the first page of, I believe, 10 pages of claims that the city attorney's office, so this isn't our document, this is the city attorney's office's document. They created this document and categorized every claim on here under DPW because it is something that happened within the public right-of-way. The details on these claims are not necessarily very easy to follow, and it's not clear from this document whether or not there was any correspondence between the city attorney's office and our department on any of these claims. So our process is start at item number 1, which is a claim claim involving somebody tripping on an uneven sidewalk due to tree roots. So we would make the assumption then that this is, if the city attorney's office contacted our department, they would have gone through our Bureau of Urban Forestry. So we can reach out to the bureau head of the Bureau of Urban Forestry, ask, hey, there is a claim that happened somewhere around this location, Steiner near Washington Street, sometime near July 1st, 2013. Has the city attorney's office contacted your department regarding this claim in any way? They would then do research, ask all their staff, hey, were you involved in this? If there are any documents, they would then send them to Frank. Frank would then review them, make sure there's no nothing that needs to be redacted, and then send them on to Mr. Grisham. So there's 544 of these. We estimated that would take out over a year to go through all of these in this process. We've recently decided to switch the process to try and make it a little bit more efficient by making our own request to the city attorney's office for any communications that they might have had with us regarding these claims. They are working on that now, and they've agreed to provide us with about 10 claims a week, so we can go forward on a rolling basis. They've yet to provide us with anything, so this is really still a work in progress. Despite the kind of vast size of this, we are committed to going through this list and responding to all of these items, and I believe that kind of summarizes things. That's where we are now with this, if you have any questions.
Okay. Member Pilpel?
Okay. Now I think I'm glad I wasn't here for the hearing on the merits, because this thing is giving me a headache. I haven't figured out exactly what, but I think there's something wrong here in how this is being approached. I think I need some clarity from Mr. Grisham on exactly what it is he's looking for, because I think you're going down a path that's time-consuming and may or may not yield what he's looking for. What? Okay. Well, then maybe we'll punt all of that to the 5:30 calendar, and maybe the issue here is only what's in the order of determination, which is talking about 67.21C and assisting requesters with finding information, and talking about the procedures that DPW uses for handling public records requests. So maybe if we just focus on that now and punt the substance of the thing to the other.
Agreed. And I think that order of determination did ask for a written description of policies and procedures. So,
which I'm still looking for.
Which.
Sorry, what?
The order of determination, you've got that in today's packet, page 150, 151, as irrelevant, on top of the second page, decision and order of determination, that should be singular. Knowledgeable representative, that would be you, is to appear on a date to be determined, that would be now, and provide written procedures regarding how the Department of Public Works processes public records requests. In addition, the task force requests any additional information regarding training provided to staff regarding assisting the public in finding and requesting records.
Sure.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to talk about first. I put together a brief presentation about our records request procedure and a few facts about it, and I believe all of the written. Hold on one second. Yeah. Well, I'll get to that. Let me just go down my list, I guess. So to talk about our department's public records process. So as you gentlemen know, frankly, is our custodian of records. He's held that post since 2008. Prior to 2008...
Let me stop you there 1 second. Do you have a written copy of what you're about to present? And if you do, can you give those copies to the clerk?
I only made one copy. This was just notes for myself, but I would be happy to email them to you.
Okay. And in future, if you help out in cases like this, email that prior to the meeting so it can go in the public
Yeah, they were just
packet.
talking points,
Okay.
but I'd be happy to email them to you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Frank has held the post since 2008. Prior to 2008, we had no central location for handling public records requests, so Frank really put that together. He was asked to develop a system. Each year, the number of records requests we receive has been increasing. In 2012, we received 340, about 1.36 requests per day. In 2013, we received 384. In 2014, we received 426 so far. It's about 1.7 per day. At that rate, we expect around 485 requests by the end of the year. The role of the custodian of records of Public Works is that he really seeks the information. There's no centralized space for records at Public Works. We have a number of bureaus. So we have 1,300 employees in 4 divisions and 12 bureaus, and each bureau is somewhat responsible for keeping their own records, and Frank contacts them to find those records. So just kind of as a visual aid, if you guys probably can't see the actual text on there, but that is our process. So the custodian handles all the records. So we receive a request. Frank would then acknowledge the request. The relevant bureau heads would be notified. The bureau heads would then assign staff to research and gather documents. The staff would identify the documents, send them to the custodian of records. The custodian would then review for responsiveness, completeness, and sensitive information, and then the custodian would respond to the request.
And you're going to give us a copy of this and a copy to Mr. Grisham?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, where was I? All right, so we have a printed records retention policy and an index of records. So that is here. And the index of records is in that same document. I can also provide electronic copies of that. I believe that that's publicly available on the website. I'm not sure. Yes, it is. And
how was that last adopted by a director's order?
When was it last adopted?
No, how? Was it through a director's order or some other vehicle?
I believe it was through a procedure. So it's an aspect of our department-wide procedures manual.
Okay, so it wasn't director's order, it was a different process. All right.
All right, so when we get a request, we assign a number to track the request. We do this because we generally are corresponding with multiple people at the same time. If the request is routine and the records are easy to gather, we will generally respond to the request within 24 hours. If the request is more complex, we will acknowledge the receipt within 24 hours and provide the requested documents as soon as possible and within 10 days.
Okay, can I?
Yeah.
Due respect, this is great stuff. I've heard this a gazillion times. If you've got this in writing, or if you can get this in writing to us, that would be great. I feel like I know.
Yep.
The thing I'd really like to hear you talk about is 21C and assisting requesters, either with records that are within DPW or if you have to refer them to another agency. How does that work, and how do you figure out whether you need to do that and how you do that? That's what I'd like to hear.
Sure. So let's see. I did write an item on that.
Before I kill myself.
Oh, okay. So maybe Frank will step in for that.
It's all part of the presentation, but why don't we talk about that? We actually had some samples to show you also on how we handle the requests where we don't have any documents. We actually explain to the person why we don't have the documents, and then we also explain which agency may have these documents that they're looking for. We don't know for sure, but we may. A couple of those examples. Which one's the first one?
Doesn't matter. Pick one.
Here's one request where the person asked for all permits permits that are being processed or have been recently filed in my neighborhood. regarding parking. You would think. So we explained to them. We explained to the person that all our permits that we issue are publicly available online, and that the person can go online to look for the permits in their neighborhood. It's separated by streets, and you can find out which street has a permit. We also told the requester that we're not the only department that issues permit that restricts parking. She broke down moving trucks, or moving people that move, can request no parking signs from the police department as well as from SFMTA. She also asked about movie permits, or we assume the movie production companies that take up space on the street. Our department doesn't.
Sorry, please don't interrupt. Let him just finish.
Our department doesn't issue those permits, and we refer them to the Film Commission. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do. That's one example. Another example where we don't have any information for the requester is, we get this quite often. A requester asks for all the utility lines underneath the street. Well, in San Francisco, the Department of Public Works does not keep those type of records. Other smaller cities may, but our city is so old that we just don't have records like that. And we tell the requester that it's the responsibility of the utility companies that have equipment in the street to keep records of where they are. And what we do is we went further by telling them that when we do our project on the street, when San Francisco Public Works does a project on the street, this is what we do to locate these utility lines in the street. And we gave that instruction, that information to the requester and say, you can do the same. You can go out and reach out to these agencies and ask for the same thing. So that's another example of what we do when we don't have a document. We explain how to go about it. But there are, in Mr. Grisham's request, our department simply does not keep records of accidents at construction sites. We don't even know, because when we issue a permit to a contractor that works on the street, they indemnifies us. People don't have to tell us when there's an accident on the street. Sometimes we don't know until the attorneys call us. Sometimes we don't know until, the city attorneys is investigating. And when they investigate, we don't know whom they call. They have the authority to contact anybody in our department. So that's the difficulty of this. How do we find the information for him when we don't even know who the city attorney's office contacted? So that's why a few weeks ago, after struggling trying to figure out, based on the description on that list of 544 claims, we decided, why don't we just ask the city attorney to help us by asking them, who do they talk to? And they told us sometimes they don't even talk to us. They just settle the claim on their own. So that's a difficult part. So now we're at a point where the city attorney has agreed to help us by supplying documents to us where they think will help us find the necessary records for Mr. Grisham.
Okay, thank you. Member Pilpel?
Okay, so at a minimum, your reference to SFMTA, that's the wrong website. It's sfmta.com, not .org. So you want to check all these websites that they're
No, it
actually...
is sfmta.com.
.com,
It
right?
is sfmta.com.
And you've got in here .org.
It's not .org, it's .com.
Yeah.
Your letter states
Oh,
.org.
is that right? Sorry.
Okay, so what I'm struggling with now, I'm not so much thinking about construction claims and all of that. I'm thinking about if someone makes a request for information, they may not know what department, they may not know what's above the street, what's below the street, rights of way, whatever. Like this person who asked about parking area C, right? I think there's a balance to be struck in how much time you spend responding to the request, organizing information to meet their needs, versus saying, here's where stuff may exist, you're on your own, we don't have it, right? I really think there is a balance here. people may not know how things are organized, who's in charge of what, but they see construction in their neighborhood and they aren't happy about it. Who do I call? Who's responsible? Blah, blah, blah. You're not an unreasonable person for them to go to and say, you're DPW, they must have permits, or some of these may be your trucks. Whose stuff is this? And I think you should spend a reasonable amount of time trying to figure out what it is they want. Sometimes the way people express it isn't necessarily what they want. Again, I'm not as familiar with Mr. Grisham. I don't know exactly what he's looking for, and if the way you're going about getting it is the right information. It may be that you're spinning your wheels and that he's actually looking for something else. It may also be, and this is a thing that I hope you will bring to your management team, that sometimes when the public asks for questions, that may change your procedures or the way you think about things. You'll recall a few years ago we had that question about whatever it was, the construction on Montgomery Street, right, in North Beach, wherever that was, and the city didn't have records of authorization for that, and then you got into what controls they had at BOE for those type of projects, et cetera, et cetera. So some of these public records requests actually change or influence your policies, your policies and procedures unrelated to public records, but related to how you run projects. And there may be an opportunity here with the request from Mr. Grisham to look at, if you don't maintain records about claims and hazards and things that may result in litigation or problems for people, maybe you should, and maybe there's some way that you could do that, either related to projects or related to conditions on the street or things that the street environmental folks and urban forestry encounter, and maybe there's something good that comes out of this. Am I?
No.
Yeah. So I would ask, among other things, that you take that back to Director Nuru and Fuad and the rest of the gang and see if there's some other way that you can deal with this. It is, what's the word? Surprising to hear that DPW doesn't have anything about claims and that the only way you can get that is from the city attorney. I get that the city attorney is primarily responsible for claims and litigation, but it is surprising to me that a department as big and all over the place as DPW wouldn't have any records directly related to claims. That's surprising.
Like I said in my email to Mr. Grisham, it's not that we don't have the record. We do have the records, but how we find them is not reasonable, because we don't categorize these records as... We don't have a separate database that says these are claims related. What it is that when the city attorney asks us for help, our people will then go out and investigate, and whatever they find, they turn over to the city attorney's office. They may or may not keep these records in a regular way.
Right.
So that's why it's so difficult.
Understood. But presumably there are, your 1,300 employees, a relatively small number communicates with the city attorney on these matters. And so if you said...
That I don't know, because I don't know whom the city attorney has contacted.
Okay. But presumably it's not going to be general laborers and too many folks out in the field. It's going to be folks at BSM. It's going to be a couple of folks at BOE or BCM, maybe, right?
Well,
you know that.
Yes, there are. Now, bear in mind, there's some of these description on the claim is like car accident. It's like, who do we ask? We can ask all the managers, but would the managers all remember if they received a request about car accident?
No, but somebody at the police department or at MTA may be involved in that. And, there are ways to get at this that shouldn't take a year. And I guess what we're getting at with 67.21C is when someone asks a question that doesn't fall neatly into the, how can I get permit number 055 from 3 weeks ago from BSM that you can pull, right, that you have to sort of think about where that information may be and how to assimilate it or refer the requester. Imagine if you were making this request you wouldn't be happy to get the runaround, so you would want to get as close to the information you're looking for. So you got to think about that. You know that.
Well, my strategy right now is to ask the city attorney's office to lead us, because they ultimately initiates the contact with Department of Public Works. So
And I
that
guess
is
we
my-
were asking
my
more generally for your
methodology right now.
procedure, which we're going to get in writing from both of you, that has some discussion about 67.21C and when you assist the requester and how you narrow and clarify requests so that we're not having departments be at loggerheads with a requester.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee.
I've also tried that, and Mr. Grisham said he wants them all, so. I mean, it's all on the email there, and
Thank you.
we tried.
Members, I think.
I need a chance to rebut that. I mean, that's an outrageous lie.
Hold on 1 second. We'll get to the rebuttals in a second. I just want to kind of gauge the litmus of the task force, what we're going to do with this. I think my initial reaction is probably to continue to the call of the chair, to wait for the response of the written documentation, which, quite frankly, we wanted for this meeting not to be come up here and reading from your notes about what you should have presented to us by email over a week ago, so it could have been included in the packet. So you're on notice. That's what we wanted. We're giving you a hall pass on that. So we're expecting some proper written documentation directly responsive to the order of determination about your policies and procedures. And that's the first piece. Mr. Grisham, if you'd like to rebut.
Yes, sir. Well, this is infuriating. If I understand correctly, he's again claiming that DPW does not have any records regarding claims. Did I understand that correctly?
There was an interesting comment there about indemnification, and I wanted to explore that a little bit more.
I wanted to, too, and I have from the beginning. Just the fact they have insurance doesn't mean they can let people get hurt in their public right-of-way. That's my whole point. Insurance doesn't stop people from getting hurt. It just pays for it, part of it. This is Procedure 02.0105, Records, Retention, and
Can
Storage.
you put that on the screen? We can see that if you put it on.
Well,
the
it's on my iPad. I mean, I need...
Yeah, it should work. There you go.
It's good.
Perfect.
All right, so this is a record that under duress, after many requests and with your help, he delivered to me as an attachment. It is the procedure.
Can you make it a little bit smaller?
It is the procedure that you're asking for. You asked this supposedly knowledgeable person that they've just hired, doesn't appear to have any knowledge of the matter, to supply to you beforehand so you could consider it before this meeting. He wasn't timed. I have 2 minutes left to rebut this nonsense. They're lying to you. They do have records involving claims. They've already delivered some. And after 1 day of supposedly working with his staff, they came up with 3 of the 544. They submitted to me responsively request for action, which is an internal DPW document. That was truncated. Only the cover was given to me, none of the rest of it. 1 page there, and 3 pages of order to correct the situation. Many of these are not in construction sites, and that could be winnowed down according to what I've asked them for. But this procedure here is what you asked them to provide you in writing. This is a record and retention storage policy, sir. And as you'll see, it's extensive. It's well thought out. And then you'll find the records retention schedule. And only on the 2nd page of the records retention schedule of DPW, you find this. Claims right here under the department at DPW, Director's Office, claims, possible claims files, subject files for city attorney, not from the city attorney, for the city attorney. Permanent, 1 year, permanent departmental policy. This is the records retention schedule, and again, right here is proof that there is a claims department and claims maintained at DPW, and they've come here twice now and lied to you about that, and lied to me in writing over and over again in the emails about it.
Okay. Hold that.
The gentleman's MO is to...
Hold that thought and step aside. Mr. Lee, please approach. This is pretty persuasive, and what Mr. Grisham just showed us is pretty persuasive. You clearly do have a record.
Jeremy, could you pull up the city attorney's website, please?
And are you aware of what he just showed us?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. If you go to the city attorney's website, very top, It says it has instructions about who accepts claims.
Filing a claim.
Okay, now, just so you realize, this is the other end of the equation. What he's requesting is the back
Yes.
end, your side.
We do invest claims only if the city attorney asks us to. That's what that means.
Not according to your records retention policy.
We keep
Which
it,
we just
but
saw.
finding them is not going to be easy because we don't categorize them based on claims.
So
Okay,
you don't
hold
have you don't have an index of records of claims.
No, he does. Hold on. Can you pull up that document? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can you pull up that document that Mr. Grisham just referenced? I believe Mr. Spitz has it right there. Hold on, Mr. Grisham, we got it.
Why did he produce it before when you asked him for it?
Hold
It's right there.
We're working on it.
He doesn't know. He's not competent.
One moment.
Mr. Grisham, as I said last time,
Can you flip that?
we don't permit outbursts,
Can you flip that?
and this is not ingratiating you to
Thank
me.
you.
So
Okay.
stay silent until asked.
Can you talk to us about those last 4 items there within the subject category, Director's Office claims? Tell us what those types of documents are, please.
It just means that if we have records on claims, we keep them.
Great.
But it doesn't say that we have to store it by claims.
Okay, so within that, which is category 2, all of that stuff, if I said I'd like to see everything within those 4 categories, claims files, code books, and permanent library, possible claims files, and subject files for city attorney, what
So
would
that-
you?
That's how I'm looking for them now. It's
Well,
sort
where-
of like the...
Well, can you just tell us physically, where are they? How are they?
Look at the other ones. The one that says... Administration. Look at the top one. The administration, it says forms.
Right.
I mean,
Yes, the
we
news
have to
rack-
look for the forms.
The News
Essentially,
Rack program, which used to be in the director's office, had meeting notices, had forms, had
So
general
we have to go
correspondence, had
look
all
for it,
kinds of
yeah.
stuff.
We
And
have
that
to
was
go
in
look for it.
files in where, Mr. Brugman used to be. So, as relates to claims, where are those documents kept?
They're kept all over the place, not just this.
But then why does this say director's office? We didn't come up with this. Your department did.
This probably should be updated, but it's not. It's probably
What,
outdated.
was some guy named Ed Lee the director of the department at the time?
I don't know. But
Well-
this was done many years ago, and we just changed.
But you've got the signature page on here. Let's go back and look at who was in charge. Sorry. I don't
I
mean to
signed
make
the
it personal. I
document.
just, departments are supposed to have a record retention policy and schedule. You appear to have one. It's got a category that says Director's Office claims with document types. So a reasonable person would look at that and say,
Yes,
you may have
you're right.
files
You're
there
right.
that should be in the Director's Office, not
Okay.
scattered all over the place.
You're right.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now you're admitting we're right, and there is materials, and that you should have access to them, and you can't lean on the city attorney.
But the reality is, we don't keep them that way. That's just it. So
Well, that's a larger
that
issue.
thing is wrong. Mhm.
That's a larger issue. That thing, unfortunately, is what you have to adhere to, as laid out in your own policies. And the record retentions are 5 years and 1 year regarding that. So I'm persuaded that there are documents. I'm persuaded that you haven't provided
Oh,
them.
yeah, I'm sure there are, but it's not easy to locate.
We're going to continue this one more session to give you time to give us written policies and procedures, Mr. Spitz. In the meantime, Mr. Lee, you're going to have to dig quickly and start satisfying this complaint, because this is going the wrong direction.
But like I said, we're asking the city attorney's office for help right now.
Well, that's fine, but your head's on the block ultimately. So you need to be aware of that. You need to understand that.
Okay.
I just took a quick look. The signature page on there is dated this year. This was an updated attempt at the record retention policy and schedule. This is not ancient history. This is how the department categorized their records within the past year. And now they're saying, no, we don't actually keep it that way.
Yeah, and I'd like to ask the clerk, I'd like to gather some institutional history on DPW. So if you can pull together past cases with DPW, because that probably resulted in that new policy, I'm guessing. So I'd like to know if you can forward me past cases on that. That'd be of interest. Okay, I'd like to table this and move on so we can get to the meat of it in the next
So I'll make a motion
session.
to continue this to the call of the chair. I think we want to get the documents the DPW now has, and we're still pursuing this.
This claim is still very much open, yeah.
Okay, so also move to continue.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Public comment on this case or this motion? Seeing none? Without objection?
This matter is continued to the call of the chair, which will be in approximately 2 months.
January 12th meeting.
And whatever documents you have now, feel free to send them in now. Don't wait if you have anything further later.
If the parties can remain in the room until we get to the next item, we would appreciate it. Just take a moment. Item number 10, communications, requests regarding Sunshine Ordinance training for various communities. We did receive a request from Anonymous regarding possible training for outside communities. I believe this would be something for the committee to think about, creating a training program and possible community training on Sunshine. If you wish, I can continue this to our next meeting for additional review.
I have done. I don't know if you'd call it trainings. I've done presentations at a couple of places on Sunshine. I think the follow-up to Ms. Gavin or whoever is what specific topics are they interested in? You know, presentations usually are customized to the audience, and then we could deal with this further.
Yeah, and I think that would be useful because, you know, when we have the citywide Sunshine retraining presentations, it'd be nice to be able to use these modules towards that, potentially.
So I will request from from Anonymous, a question is what topics she wished covered, when she would like to have that training, and who is this training going to be for?
Perhaps that's something that can go on our website, and we can start generating a wish list of, you can put suggested topics and then get people to, comment on that or put their names down or, start a list of and we'll let them know when those become available.
Mm-hmm. Is there any public comment on this matter? There being no public comment, I can take action on your request. There's no need to take an action on this.
Okay.
Item number 11, file number 14065, hearing, civil grand jury report, ethics in the city, promise, practice, or pretense, follow-up on Sunshine Ordinance Task Force response to the civil grand jury report. I did put up the previous letter listing the items that we would need to provide a follow-up response to. I did not bring it, but we did receive a draft legislation concerning changing the calendar requirement for selected individuals. So
was that prepared at our request? How did that
yes,
happen?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I saw that a while back. I just didn't know the context.
Yes. So the task force is supposed to issue a follow-up response to any items that in which we stated required additional review within 6 months of the previous response. So I believe our next meeting will be very close to that deadline.
Okay, and just to be clear, Victor, why is this before this committee? Why not? Why isn't this a full task force issue?
I believe in the responses in the civil grand jury report, it did state the Education Outreach and Training Committee would look into the matter. A copy is attached.
Did it now? Okay. All right.
So I'm losing it. So what are we doing on this? Are we continuing this, and at the next meeting we'll forward something to the full task force to provide
yes,
a 6-month update?
May I ask if the committee would like to submit proposed responses, I can gather them and prepare them for our next meeting.
All right. With Mr. Pilpel, I'm a bit lost on this. I thought Okay, so on the full task force, we heard all this. We did a recommendation. We sent a letter to Judge Ming-Mei Lee.
Yes.
Okay. What is the further action?
I believe any items in which we stated required further review.
I see.
We need to provide that further review.
Further analysis, further review. Okay.
Yes.
And EOTC, and that got sent over to EOTC from the full task force.
I believe EOTC was considered to be the primary committee to consider responses.
We had primary jurisdiction on some of the items, but not all.
Okay. And these are the items that we have jurisdiction over. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I think what might be useful, I'd love to have Member Hepner maybe sit in on the next EOTC just to help, because he was, he helped pen this original response. Okay. All right. So let's continue this one and make a note that we may invite Member Hepner, if available, to sit in, and we can talk about that offline or online, I should say.
We may need to notice that as a committee of the whole or something if we got a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, some of this language is something. The recommendations, those come straight out of the report. The indented stuff.
Do you have the page
Where did that
number for
come?
me?
Did you cook that up? I'm sorry, I'm lost on this.
Yeah.
These.
Mr. Grisham, before you go, we're trying to get to the end of this meeting. We're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we're going to go right back with your case. So you probably have about 10, 15 minutes if you want to. Yeah, if you want to come back, that'd be great. I don't know if he's coming back. Okay. All right.
So, Victor, on the structure here?
This was just a copy of the original submission to the judge.
Oh, okay. So,
right.
So it sounds like the section under the recommendation requires further analysis.
This is the EOTC bit.
Right, but you didn't cook this up. We need to edit this text.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're getting to a thing. So, for example, here where it says we'd be interested in fully vetting a proposal, we haven't actually done anything further on this yet.
Okay.
So there needs to be some work done on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're getting kicked here a little bit to do some thing.
All right.
And I think there are some policy issues embedded in here as to how we proceed.
Okay. Member Pilpel, do you want to take a stab at this? And then, we'll obviously all read it. Okay.
Maybe for me, to you, to Lee, we'll do this in such a way that we're not getting to a quorum, but we'll try to.
It's transparent through Victor.
Okay.
And
so I'll get from Victor both the final formal response that we made to the grand jury and the next draft letter that's a 6-month follow-up.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
I assume that the action is the motion is continuing matter to the call of the chair.
Yes.
Actually, to the next meeting. Let's make it more specific.
January 12th meeting.
Yes. Is there any public comment regarding this matter? There being no public comment, this matter is continued to the next meeting of the EOTC without objection. Item 12, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items.
I don't really have anything substantive. Do we have a calendar nearby, and can we just be clear on the next meeting?
It's the second Monday, correct?
What does that work to in January?
January 12th.
Okay.
Next meeting of the EOTC, I believe, as stated, is January the 12th. I don't have that exact date in front of me.
That sounds right, though. So
Yeah, I'm looking at a calendar here.
Okay.
Yes.
If it looks like if we're still doing complaint and it looks like we've got all of this stuff, maybe you could consider meeting slightly earlier if there's a way to do it with the members. But
Unlikely. I want to keep it at 4, just keep some consistency.
But this is just dragging.
Most likely, the next meeting will not have a complaint committee component.
Attached, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It'll be attached to the other.
4 o'clock on the 12th. I'm good. Thanks.
All right.
There being no other announcements, is there any public comment on announcements? There is no public comment. Next item on the agenda is adjournment of the EOTC meeting.
Meeting adjourned?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to take a. Okay.